Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's so great to have you all with me on The Highway to Scale, a podcast in which we explore the ins and outs of business success and where we cover topics like validating business ideas, exploring different management styles, building products, launching them on the market, raising capital, and scaling your business. Now, before we get to the main part, please consider subscribing and get in touch with me if you want to be a guest on the show. In today's episode, I'm joined by Lubomila, who is the CEO of PlanA, one of the hottest European sustainability startups. This software is a service company that started as a donation platform, recently got a $3 million investment, which enabled them to start expanding their operations on a much bigger scale. In this podcast, Lubomila will tell us more about what did it take to pivot the company in the way she did with PlanA, what are the benefits of embracing sustainability, and why is it important for CEOs to be humble? So let's cut the intro and let's jump right into the episode to see what Lubomila can teach us about building a business. Lubomila, thank you for joining me on the podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm super excited to chat to you and also tell a bit more about PlanA.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Tell me more about the company and tell me more about your role as a CEO. What do you focus on the most?
So PlanA, for those of the listeners that are not familiar, is a company that enables businesses to calculate, monitor, reduce and report on their emissions within a single platform. We have a modular platform that is able to work for different industries. Some of our clients include Société Générale, Cowboy electric bike company in France, for example, Gani fashion company in Sweden, and others. And my job internally in the company is a lot focused on everything that happens outside of the company. So this is speaking to a lot of clients, speaking to a lot of press, and taking chances to join also conversations like this one.
So when you started PlanA, you started it as a donation platform, but then you switched into a software company basically. Can you tell me more about this switch? Why did you do it, and what did that process look like?
I think at the core of what PlanA has been doing since day one, we have aimed on combined technology and science to enable individuals and businesses to make better decisions. And the decision to start with the donation platform came from the fact that before officially launching the company, I spent close to a year analyzing data related to climate change, and I was quite severely shocked, damaged after going through all of the data points available online and essentially all the evidence that was explaining how climate change was impacting our planet and how we as humans were impacting for climate change to exist and intensify. And based on all the learnings, it was really clear that not enough funding was going into projects that were directly addressing different environmental issues, and that was the idea of the donation platform. We quickly learned that individual donations are quite difficult to get. Even though we got close to 1 million euros in donations, that was still, a lot of door-to-door sales. And also, there was no business model that was viable enough for us to be able to scale the company properly. Within working on the donations, we quite quickly understood that actually the main and most important way to engage these individuals is actually through the companies they work for. And a lot of donations from individuals actually turned into company donations, and these companies started asking, okay, but can you also help us with climate risk assessment for our infrastructure, with carbon accounting, and so on and so on. And essentially one thing led to the other, and we decided to focus on model on something that was more long-term thinking and specifically looking into the business impact.
Great. So can you tell me, what does your sales process look now? Do you do outbound, inbound? How do you get the majority of your clients?
We're positively overwhelmed by the incoming requests and inbound that is happening. So outbound is not necessarily, our own main focus because we just have enough to work with from what comes through references, referrals, and so on. That is by itself, I guess, a channel. And the process normally is that we understand the stage of the development of the company, how far they are within their sustainability efforts, and depending on the scale and the maturity, we are immediately able to set our platform to be working for them essentially with either small adjustments or through some integrations that we enable in the platform.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the platform? What sort of functionalities do you offer your clients, and what are some of the main benefits of using your platform instead of, let's say, some of your competitors?
Yeah, this is a really important question, and the truth is that our platform is one of a kind in many ways because we've developed a modular platform that enables a lot of different elements of the company's existence to be turned into sustainability KPIs. So what the platform does is it enables companies to manage their carbon accounting and also ESG. And you can assume that for both of these topics, there's a lot of data that needs to be collected or assumed, because we also predict some values as well. And what is needed is for this company to essentially, share with us what they want to achieve, and the platform then starts working for them immediately. What we have is the possibility to calculate your emissions, to set net zero targets, to compensate, to also reduce, and of course report. So all of the different elements of sustainability in one.
Great. So what do you think about technology helping prevent climate change? Because at least today we can see that technology can have vastly different effects on the ecology. Let's say we have all that crypto boom, which has a extremely negative effect, and we have software like yours and companies like yours that really help to sustain it and maintain that positive impact on the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are quite aware of that. We're a tech company ourselves, and as a company that uses its own software to manage its own emissions, we're familiar with the things that actually contribute to our existence not being always positive on the planet. I think technology has a lot of opportunity to unlock a lot of potential. AI itself can allow for a lot of, first of all, data to give us answers on where we're also losing energy, and also, allow us to have more transparency on how certain processes happen so that we make them more optimized and more sustainable. Where the problem is that we have sometimes these parts of the tech activities that we have that are not so sustainable. You rightfully are giving the example of crypto. One NFT, I found quite shocking statistic that one NFT is, and the mining required for it is the equivalent of the CO2 emissions of one citizen in Europe for a month, which is pretty mind-blowing fact if you think about the scale of anyone's existence, even if they're not so exhaustive.
But it's a month and it's extremely long period.
Of course, yeah. I think the main problem is that we don't even think about these things, and that's where probably we lose a lot of opportunities to be more sustainable. It's just because we don't even look into what is the impact. And this is where our platform comes in play, because what we aim to achieve is that we add this layer of sustainability KPIs that at the moment is missing as part of the solution, and is not yet the driving factor of how we make decisions so that they're optimized for the planet as well. We enable our clients essentially to do that.
Yeah, you basically make it. You basically simplify the entire process of making a company sustainable, because a lot of companies say, it's a chore, it's a lot of work, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources. So how do you change that? How do you change that mindset? Because there's a lot of greenwashing. That's also a topic that has been really booming in the last couple of years. So what do we as humans need to do to change that mindset, to take the planet and take humanity finally seriously?
Absolutely, this is a super important question, and the truth is that companies always assume that the process is really burdensome because they've never tried it. And
Yeah.
once they start using a platform like ours, actually the process is optimized for them, and they can focus on what really matters, which is reduction, on taking these steps for doing something good for the planet. I think the change in mindset is dependent on how you approach the conversation altogether. If you're offering for someone to, just greenwashing, there's a lot of examples, as you mentioned, but like if someone is offering a solution that essentially outsources sustainability responsibilities, this is a half-hearted solution because at the end of the day, it's not allowing essentially for the actual mindset within the company to shift. So what we do with our activities is we enable essentially for this to change and for these people to really learn about how they can make effective decisions without having to do the consulting themselves and do the work on the analysis themselves, because our platform does that, and we're able to equip them with the knowledge on how they should act.
So one of the things that really stood out when I was preparing for this interview, in one of your talks, I believe it was maybe even your TED talk, you mentioned that the planet is fine and that we should focus on saving humanity, which is quite a bit different from a lot of the activists who say planet is dying, we need to save the planet. Can you explain your mindset and your thoughts about that?
This is not an opinion, this is facts. And what is meant by what I said in my TED Talk is that our planet is a really robust and resilient ecosystem, and it's actually quite well developed. We have a beautiful nature, we have a lot of quite complex species on this planet. And us humans that supposedly should be part of the ecosystem have assumed the position that essentially gives us the fake feeling that we manage this ecosystem. What is ahead of us with climate change is actually a shift towards at least 2-degree temperature increase. We're definitely off track to be on the 1.5 degree temperature increase as confirmed by the Paris agreements. So imagine a planet that is 2 degrees warmer. Then we're talking about a lot of the species on this planet dying, and mostly the most resilient ones being able to survive or kind of adjust themselves in certain manners. We as humans are not able to do that. Our bodies are not prepared for this kind of reality. Climate change is also leading to desertification, which means that half of our planet is not going to be in the state of being able to give us any food, produce any good quality agriculture. So and then the final element is that because of the loss of habitat that many species are having, they're basically going extinct, and that's through desertification, but also through deforestation and so on. And when you combine all these elements in one, what you quickly learn is that there's no way for us as a humanity, as the way we live our lives now, and are on track to hit a few more billion people in a short amount of time, is also contributing to these emissions and also contributing to our society. We are not going to have the reality that we would be feeling comfortable with, which would unfortunately put a lot of people in a vulnerable position. And this is what science says. This is also what the facts say. And the planet has gone through a lot of cataclysms previously, and it has been able to go out of them, adjust, and bring life back to it. That is not the case with humans. We are not managing this ecosystem, and we need to make sure that we really prepare ourselves to either adjust to a life that is very uncomfortable or face a really fatal destiny.
Yeah. So this might be a little bit controversial, but what do you think about Elon Musk and his plan to, transfer humanity to Mars or some other planets? I saw on your website you have that great tagline: "There's no plan B for the planet." So, I mean, that really summarizes the mindset of your company. But what do you think about that kind of plan B, going to another planet? Do you think that's viable in in some future?
I have focused my life on living within the boundaries of this planet, and I think it's one that deserves a lot of attention. Um, I think it's an escape. If we have to like start focusing on finding our reality in another planet, um, not because I'm old-fashioned, but because I think there's a systemic issue that needs to be addressed first in order for us to be able to live our life in peace and harmony here, rather than trying to escape to another planet. There's so much problems that we have not looked at all. We still live in an unequal society. We still live in a society that is not giving enough chances to all of its members for them to flourish and expand. And I think that, to me, is definitely visionary. I think what is being done by many of the billionaires who have invested in this kind of technology is certainly something that we should try, but not at the cost of assuming we can escape there. It's more probably an entertainment rather than anything else.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you said you have your full attention on this planet, and I think that can really be explained by the backstory of Plan A and how you came to launch the company and all that story of how you went on a vacation with your friends and then you went to the beach and you found in the first half an hour 6 pairs of shoes and bunch of other trash. So what do you think about us as individuals? How can we change our way of dealing with Earth, not polluting it so much as we do it right now?
I think what is the usual excuse for not doing anything is because apparently sustainability costs more, it takes more time, it takes more preparation, and so on. I actually think it's a lot more of a minimalist and more, mindful way of living. And for those looking to find their way into the topic, they should not assume that they need to be perfect, and they should not have fear that the only way to be part of the conversation is by making the conversation complex and scientific. Sustainability is in all of the things that we do. You can decide to use a reusable bottle instead of buying plastic. You can decide to not purchase a plastic bag, but rather, have your own reusable bag. You can decide to do 1 day a week or 3 days a week vegetarian diet. And most importantly, where you put your money is what matters the most. And this is the companies you buy clothes from, the companies you buy food from. Do a due diligence on them, on how well they are performing against your sustainability criteria. And that would already have probably like a significant impact on your CO2 emissions, because it is acting as a ripple effect, because you end up essentially supporting with your purchase someone that is doing something good for the planet.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to sustainability in corporations, do you see it as something that individuals can affect, or is it always a top-down decision that comes from the CEOs, the management?
It really depends. We actually have both the top-down and the bottom-up approach as an effective one in terms of who we've been able to get as clients. And examples of this are employee engagement activities that have led to someone deciding to work on the topic. And we have a multitude of clients like that. Examples would be quite a few startups. For example, JobLift is a German scale-up that had 2 employees from the HR team wanting to do something. They managed to push it through the whole management, and the decision was made that they are going to start using our platform. In the cases, for example, of large corporates where we're talking about banks, there quite often the influence comes from the management level because they know that this is a KPI they need to respond to in terms of back to their investors, in terms of how society perceives them and so on.
Yeah. What are some other differences between, big corporations that you work with and smaller startups or smaller companies in general?
We don't discriminate based on size. We definitely have a bigger focus on corporates because that's where our capabilities can have even more impact. The difference normally is that the corporate client is looking into topics like reporting, topics like ESG a lot more frequently. And the startups quite usually are looking for employee engagement activities and opportunities to get their team on board with the topic.
So what do you found more effective, let's say? Is there something like a measure of effectiveness of one activities versus the others?
I think there's definitely a lot of importance in both. And I think there's no company that has done sustainability successful that is not engaged either of the parties. Because on one hand, if we're talking about an employee-led activity and engagement, there we're talking about, of course, the budget having to be approved by the founders or the CEO or whoever is on the board. But if you take the opposite use case, like in order for sustainability to be embedded in the company or for people to start doing things more sustainably, you need to engage them. You need to explain to them why this matters. So I would say they go hand in hand.
Okay, great. So let's talk business. When you started Plan A, and up until now, you have grown it into a fairly successful company. You've gone through two series of fundings. You are growing year by year. So what would you say were some of the biggest challenges that you had to face during these couple of years?
Well, it's really important to remember that PlanA was founded in 2017, and with this in mind, we actually had to face in the beginning a lot of challenges related to funding because people were not necessarily so interested in the topic. And now kind of it became a hype since last year, but I would say that was not the case in 2016, 17 for sure. The second issue I think we've had is to explain to companies that sustainability matters. Now it's kind of a lot easier, but at some point we definitely had to even explain why climate change is an issue for businesses and so on. Other than that, to be honest, like we've had fairly smooth journey because we've had the focus always on listening to what the clients say, adjusting our product according to that. I'm really honored to be working with some people that have been with us since the very beginning. So far there's been only 2 people that have left the company since they've joined, which is pretty nice. And that kind of allows for this continuity and longevity of the project. And for this growth to happen now, obviously, also with the support of investors and so on.
As I understand, in Plan A, you put a lot of emphasis, on the company culture. Can you explain the culture that you're growing within Plan A?
Absolutely. The culture that we've built is one of responsibility, a lot of fun, and a lot of focus on the actual problem that we're solving. We really care about our planet, and you don't need to be an expert in sustainability when you are joining the company. You don't need to be vegan when you're joining the company, but you definitely need to be someone that is concerned and someone that wants to help with any skill sets that they can bring to the table. And with this in mind, the focus that we have has been on making sure that we make it also a really fun culture, because it could be quite challenging sometimes to work with the problem that you're addressing, because it's really heartbreaking to know all the details of everything happening on the other side of the planet. So that's why we have a lot of engagement with the team. We do a lot of fun exercises together. also in the groups of the different departments and so on. And we also give a lot of recognition for the individual talent. We support education as one of the KPIs and allow essentially for people to learn at work. And all of these things have led to a really strong commitment and really strong engagement by everyone.
That's amazing. So, what about you as a CEO? A lot of managers, a lot of CEOs that I talk to, they say, this company is my baby. I have a hard time letting go of some of the some of the operational activities that I need to do. It makes me. It's very difficult to pass that on to someone else when I hire them. What about you? Do you have the problem of letting go some of the day-to-day operational stuff?
I think I had to quickly learn to be able to delegate because my agenda is packed months in advance. Like I think this has been quite of a exciting last 12 months, especially. Since the beginning of this year, it's absolute pure madness.
Yeah.
And I think with this in mind, I need to be quite okay with letting go and being open to supporting others in their work. My job as a CEO is to be an enabler, to be someone that opens the door, gives the keys to people, and is allowing them for them to then take the next step to build the company. And this has been, I would say, quite of an important part of my job that I, since day one, have assumed. So, not big of a problem with delegating.
Great. So we can say that you're a successful CEO. So, what advice would you give to young CEOs who are just now starting their business journey, who are just looking to launch their first product or launch their business on the market?
Stay humble. I think one of the things that I have seen destroy companies has been ego. And if you start doing something out of ego in your company, most likely the outcome is going to be negative because you're going to be having this biased, twisted perspective on what matters for the company and not what matters to your clients. And I think that's something that I live and breathe as a principle since day one. People always tell me like, oh, but now like you're so famous, you're a thought leader in the field and so on. And I'm like, I really don't care about this because I have not been able to fulfill my mission yet of stopping climate change. So until this doesn't happen, I don't have the space and allowance to be driving the company with ego or driving even my own agenda with on the day-to-day with any factors related to my own benefit.
Yeah, that's amazing. That really ties in, with the entire mindset of the company and the approach that you have. So I have just one more question before we wrap this up. So what does the future hold for Plan A? You recently, I believe in March, you raised $3 million of extra capital. What do you plan to do with it? What are some of the next steps that we can expect from you?
Absolutely. The lot is going on. We're doubling the team at the moment. So if anyone is looking for a job, give me a call on LinkedIn. We are also going to make some exciting announcements in the coming months related to our expansion. We're opening an office in France, opening an office in London, in the US by the end of the year. So a lot on the agenda and super exciting things related to team and company. So
you're basically going global in the next year?
Yes. No, climate change is global, so we don't have a choice.
Exactly. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Lubomila, once again, thanks for joining me on the podcast, and thanks for sharing all of these amazing insights.
Thank you so much. Chat soon.
And we are done. If you stuck with us until the end, here are a few key takeaways from this episode that I want you to remember. Number 1. Look at the world around you and you might encounter a problem that needs fixing. This can be the basis of your new business. Number 2, be humble as a CEO. Don't let your ego distract you from achieving the full potential with your company. And number 3, don't be afraid to pivot your company. Just because you started with one idea doesn't mean you can't evolve it into something better. Now, before you sign off, don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when we publish new episodes. And leave us a review if you enjoyed this podcast and learned something new. It will be highly appreciated. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show, shoot me an email or hit me up on LinkedIn. My contact info is down in the description. And that's it. I'm Dorian. You've been listening to Highway to Scale, and I'll see you all in the next episode.